For most people, Sun Tzu is a name associated with battlefields, generals, and motivational quotes shared by people who have never actually read him. He is presented as a philosopher of victory, a mysterious sage who decoded the psychology of conflict. But this narrative almost completely misses the point, because once you strip away the slogans, myths, and polished quotations, a far more unsettling and far more real Sun Tzu emerges. He was not obsessed with winning wars. He was obsessed with avoiding them. What concerned him was not glory, heroism, or domination, but cost. As the world around him bled itself through constant conflict, Sun Tzu articulated a truth with unusual clarity. For a state, the greatest danger is not the enemy across the border. The real danger is the bill that arrives after the war ends. People assume the art of war is a manual about fighting. In reality, at its core, it is a book about finance. To understand this, one must look honestly at the world he lived in. His ideas did not emerge from theory, but from a reality on the brink of collapse. In the 6th and 5th centuries BCE, China was fragmented into rival states locked in endless struggle. Each believed it could unify the world. Each drained its treasury trying. War was no longer an exception, it was the norm. Alliances formed and collapsed. Armies grew larger, and every war cost more than the last. Warfare had ceased to be symbolic combat and become a massive machine requiring grain, logistics, taxation, and human labor. States were not merely fighting, they were pushing their economies to the breaking point. The moment an army moved, the meter started running. Every day, every step, every delay cost money. A single campaign could bankrupt a small state in months. A prolonged war could bring even a great power to ruin. This was Sun Tzu's world, not romantic, but inevitable and exhausting. He was not a philosopher shouting war cries. He was a crisis manager in military clothing. He looked at costs, timelines, and logistics and recognized a hard truth. If the treasury collapses, victory means nothing. Most rulers never understood this. To them, the threat was the enemy. To Sun Tzu, the threat was their own spending. That is why he places this idea at the center of his work. War is a matter of vital importance to the state, not glorious, not honorable. Vital, meaning dangerous enough to destroy everything if mismanaged. The rest of the book explains how to keep war short, controlled, and as inexpensive as possible. Even his most famous ideas are economic principles in disguise. The highest form of warfare is to subdue the enemy without fighting, is not mystical wisdom. It is cost avoidance. No state has ever benefited from a prolonged war, is not moral advice. It is a budgetary fact. Speed, intelligence, and psychological pressure are cheaper than armies. Sun Tzu was not chasing victory. He was trying to prevent states from bankrupting themselves in pursuit of it. In his eyes, war was no longer a stage. It was a balance sheet threat. Intelligence was not information. It was savings. Speed was not virtue. It was cost reduction. Every day of delay was money burned. Sun Tzu was not anti-war. He was anti-waste. And the greatest waste, in his view, was a war that never needed to happen. That is why he praised diplomacy, deterrence, and alliances, not as weakness, but as financial discipline. Rulers who treated war as a passion, he warned, would eventually destroy their states. History proved him right. The modern world is no different. Prolonged conflicts shatter budgets, while sanctions, proxy wars, and cyber operations follow the same logic he outlined centuries ago. Maximum impact, minimum cost. Sun Tzu did not understand modern technology, but he understood mathematics. His core lesson remains simple and uncomfortable. States do not collapse because they lose wars. They collapse because they can no longer afford them. The Art of War is not a book about aggression. It is a book about restraint, endurance, and survival. Power is not measured by how hard you strike, but by how much striking you can afford. History does not repeat itself exactly, but if you fail to understand it, it will charge you the price all the same.